What a great, beautiful day in New York to stir up something new. Let's talk now about power. This city, this borough, this place we stand is home to the world's most powerful men, right? It's where they work and live and play and pat each other on the back. They rule with privilege and their currency is cash. It is a club. Harvey Weinstein is a member, and Vance is a member, and Donald Trump is a member, and the biggest of the bankers and the lawyers for all of them, and the Dominique Strauss-Kahns when they come to visit. There will always be places where they're invited and the rest of us are not, and they will be afforded deference in those places. I get that. But a criminal courtroom cannot be one of those places. We must demand and do the hard work to create a system of law where the most powerful walk into a courtroom on the same footing as the humblest of us, the poorest of us, the groups of us who have been systematically beaten down for generations. And that could start here today. When I was a kid in college, I took a course called Dealing with Sexual Assault. I learned there that in the most startling of terms, sexual assault has so successfully been used in every culture since the beginning of time to rob women of their power. And when I became a young sex crimes prosecutor over on the other side of the bridge, I saw with my own eyes how it robs the women of so much else, their daily sense of safety, their fundamental dignity, often their entire sense of self. So I and my colleagues, we charged these cases and we tried these cases based often exclusively on the truthful, harrowing accounts provided by the women themselves. The women were heard. Sometimes we won and sometimes we lost, but they were heard. If someone had told me then that 30 years later we'd be doing a far worse job of serving these women than we were doing then, I'd have struggled to believe them. If someone had told me several years ago that a DA's failure to do the right thing on these cases could be linked directly to campaign donations made to that very DA, I would have been deeply, deeply disheartened. But now, when a clear pattern of that conduct has emerged, the giving of get-out-of-jail cards to the rich and powerful that are never ever given to the rest of us, and are daily kept from the most disenfranchised of our sisters and brothers, my only thought is no, enough is enough, this cannot stand. And I'm not alone, am I? If there's one thing I've learned about New Yorkers in my 30 years of service, and in my recent experience talking to folks on the campaign trail, it's that we have this capacity to look past our own personal needs and experiences and demand that our sisters and brothers are cared for too. We find it distasteful that women who've been sexually assaulted are shut down and ignored when they muster the courage to report it. Not just because we ourselves are women or have daughters at home, but because it's so clearly wrong. We find it immoral that the criminal justice system continues to disproportionately treat people of color more harshly than others, stealing futures, not just because we ourselves are black or brown, but because we know it's wrong. We hate watching poor people and people struggling with addiction get labeled criminals and warehoused instinctively when they could be helped. And we do that not only because all of our families have been touched by poverty and addiction, but because it's fundamentally wrong. And so we have begun together in strong coalitions and brand new partnerships on weeknights after work and on social media to ask the question, how can we make sure those who seem hell-bent on retaining their power at the expense of the rest of us are not permitted to continue in that power unchecked? The movement that directed Curtis to identify me as a change agent, a reformer, started just over a week ago when one individual on Twitter said enough with Vance running unopposed. I can start a write-in campaign. And I like this guy Marc for DA as my candidate. I watched him in Brooklyn. I know what he's about. And that individual had followers. And then Sean King hopped on board, and Piper Perabo, and now Curtis and others who have these great platforms from which to talk about this critical issue. I love that Twitter, the medium that the President of the United States uses to daily degrade and ridicule and diminish, to pick schoolyard fights with world leaders and even private citizens, is now being used in this context to elevate the conversation about criminal justice reform and engage those who might otherwise have been inclined to just sit this one out because there's another kind of power out there, right? Comes with this, right? It's our power. It's the power of the people. It's so patriotic to do this. You can take that ballot on November 7th and you can work your way down, your vision down, and find the line that says Manhattan DA, Sile be on the left. You look all the way over to the right and it says write-in candidate. And you fill in that little circle and you write in, if you choose to do so, and I hope that you do, Marc Fliedner. That's M-A-R-C, F like in Frank, L-I-E-D-N-E-R. You can write it on your hand before you go in, you can put it on a post-it in your pocket, type it into your phone, whatever you want to do. But you'll be doing something tangible to change a system that's clearly broken because of this power imbalance. Why write me in? Well, because I don't owe anybody anything except fundamental fairness in the process. So when the members of the club or their cronies are subject to investigation or criminal prosecution, I will make the decision to charge or not based only upon my fair evaluation of the evidence. Because I will never accept donations from those who are doing business with the DA's office. The criminal lawyers or the big-time developers who would have me look the other way when there's some fraud on their watch. Look, I don't need an independent review committee to tell me that taking money from those with an obvious interest in matters before the DA's office is odious. Why me? Because I would not prosecute a small community bank in one of our most vital immigrant communities, namely Abacus, while at the same time letting the big banks completely off the hook. Because I'm both a manager and a trial attorney, have been in a criminal courtroom this year and last trying cases, so I actually know what is required to prove a case. And because I listen to those who say they've been criminally harmed and have in fact dedicated my career to their care. And because I have a clear and certain vision of reforms that will finally address the system's racial and economic inequities. I'm a guy with a sense of right and wrong that doesn't slip and slide to meet for each new occasion. Because it's time for a change. Am I eligible to serve? Yes. My husband and my father and our rescue pup Jasper, we're going to be Manhattan residents within the week. Am I ready? I've been ready since I started working 30 years ago, with everything I've learned and everything I've accomplished on behalf of the people of New York. Now the question, is this possible to unseat a powerful, entrenched incumbent with just a few days to go? That, my friends, is up to you. And that's where I find myself once again turning to the words of Frederick Douglass, who guides me so often throughout my career. He said, "Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will." The power this time, it's the pencil, and you're getting out the vote and choosing to write it in. You're poised to make a demand with your pencil. 21 days and counting. Let's go. Thank you. Thank you.